I see that people are slowly trickling in. So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a very exciting session that's going to be happening in a few minutes. But before we get started, it's nice to see everybody again. My name is May. I'm sure you're familiar with me. And as usual, to ensure that you have a wonderful experience on the last day of Nest Level, to download the VFS app if you haven't. Hopefully you have. It's ready out that day with us. We're going to chill for a few minutes and you hear back from all of us. And while you're chilling, please watch the video for exciting reminders before we begin this session. Enjoy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depends on where you are. Welcome to Enabling Data-Driven Video Marketing through Artificial Intelligence with Nestlé and Wunderman. My name is Luki from Nestlé Indochina, and I will be your host for these sections. Just for some house rule to ensure smooth flowing sections today, keep an eye on the chat box and make sure not to flood it with spam so you can catch important announcements and links on how you can engage with that voice Slido. You may see the chat box for the code to join our sections. Have your mobile phone on standby to scan the QR codes for the slide on the slide to see career opportunities in sales, marketing, data analytics across all the Nestlé markets around the globe. Great. Let's begin the sections. Introducing our inspiring keynote speakers today. Alexandra Tito, e-business accelerations and data activation manager at Nestlé Indochina, and David Holte, lead cloud engineer at Wunderman Thompson. Alexandra is experienced in driving digital transformation at Nestlé, leading data technologies and activation with over 9 years of experience in marketing with strong focus in digital operation and technology. David Holt is currently the lead cloud engineer at Wunderman Thompson. He is passionate about cloud infrastructures, data pipelining, ELT processes, and MLOps. I'm excited to learn from Alex and David about how we can leverage artificial intelligence and big data for an iconic brand like NESCAFE in activating a data-driven campaign. With that, Alex and David, the floor is yours.
So, hello everyone, and welcome. So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is essentially the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines for us. So these machines, we call them models. And in order for models to make these informed decisions, we train them to do so, and we train them using data. So they over time learn how to become better at making these decisions more accurately. This practice is called machine learning. So this is all well and good, but if we apply this practice to marketing, there are a couple of real life use cases. So one is we train models on past customer behavior to make a decision or to predict the next best action towards that customer. So either by content shown or communication sent. We can also analyze past campaign or marketing channel effort versus conversions as the performance signal. And then we combine that with other signals, such as how does the content that was shown towards the customer, what does that contain? And then predict the best way to engage with those customers going forward. So I hope that sort of takes a complicated concept like AI and explains a bit on how to apply this in real life. And then I think we can move on. So we have a quiz here. The reason for this is that there's a lot of misconceptions around what is AI and what is not AI. So what we have two options here. One is Google Maps, and another is an email welcome program. So you are to predict here what is considered AI. I think we can go ahead and then let the participants vote here, and then I'll give it a minute. Yes. So let's see the result. So of course it is Google Maps. I saw some were actually voting for an email program, and I could see why. So the reason why it's Google Maps in this case is that Google Maps actually uses image recognition, so computer vision for its street view, and in the other example is it also uses this computer vision detection here for street signs. Whereas an email program is actually just a lot of logic behind that. But so logic is triggered by events or certain workflows. So it's not, that's not considered as AI. So let's jump to the next one. So we have two examples here again. So one is streaming service recommendations, and the other one is computer hardware. So it says here betting apps, but it is computer hardware as it is in the slides there. So I'll just give a minute here. All right, so let's see the result. Yes, it is streaming service recommendations. So actually, in broad terms, recommendations is actually a type of modeling that you do with AI. So streaming services, they provide users recommendations based on their own behavior, but also based on other users' behavior, and also based again around what's in the content. So similar content shown to different users is also driving these recommendations. And then computer hardware. So it's somewhat of a complicated thing to understand, but it's not considered AI. So it's the building blocks that we use to create AI models. Yeah, and the last example here. So we have one, flight information systems, and then two, we have R2D2 and C3PO. Yes, let's see the result. Yes, of course, it's our near and dear R2D2 and C3PO. So this one is maybe a bit self-explanatory, but we could help. We couldn't help including these two guys. So who doesn't love those, right? So flight information systems, they are quite complicated and convoluted, but they are based on human decisions and planning, a lot of planning. So of course it is our two dear robots here. All right. So I'll hand it over here to you, Alex.
Thank you, David. And it's interesting to see everyone's answers. I think a lot of people have a good grasp of what AI is. And I also find the um, Google Maps example and then the streaming example very interesting because it's something that we see or interface with almost every day, but we don't usually see at the back end on how like complicated these products and technology are. But yeah, I think um, after we go through what AI is, obviously these are all good solutions. We use it in everyday life. But as marketers, how can AI really drive brand impact? So that's the question that we want to answer today and share with you guys what we learned and what are the tips that we can share to the audience. So what we've done for one of our biggest brands here in Nestle is we leverage AI for us to generate audience segment recommendations for us to be able to deliver media cost efficiency and also generate above benchmark video performance. So David has been sharing earlier that AI really revolves around predicting certain performance or certain action in the future using the data that we already have. So for a brand like Nescafe, we've been investing a lot on digital media, online media activation. So we wanted to understand how can we use all these huge chunks of data that we already have for us to be able to predict future campaign performance. So with that, we have a video that we want to share to you guys, and we hope that you find this inspiring.
What if we can predict future campaign performance? Leveraging Google's cloud and artificial intelligence technology, Nescafe processed big data from the past 3 years, amounting to 249 video ads, 167 audiences, 230 campaigns, with over 3.15 billion impressions. Video features and audiences are engineered with the help of video intelligence to identify high-performance audiences and top-performing creative elements. Past and current videos are audited and analyzed based on multiple attributes from face counts, scenes in video, logos, objects figuring such as mugs, packaged goods, on-screen text, and video context from entertainment to emotions in video. The model groups the videos based on video element similarities and generates top-performing audiences based on most similar videos. The audience recommendation tool then recommends unique audiences based on historical and ongoing performance of similar-looking videos.
Great. So I hope you guys find some inspiration on the project that we did. So I guess you guys are asking now, how did we do this, or how did we approach this project? So whenever we launch a artificial intelligence project, I think first it's very important to build a hypothesis. So the question is why, right? So obviously when we have all these kinds of technology, sometimes especially for marketers, we get overwhelmed with how flashy advanced the technology is, that sometimes we often forget of, okay, what does this really bring or add value to what I'm trying to do? So as marketers, first we need to ask, why do we want to use this solution? What is the answer or the marketing challenge, the business challenge that we want to address, or that this technology can help address? Second would be to start gathering data input. So this is very important. So the model can only learn based on the data that you asked it to analyze and process. So the bigger the data that you have, the more elements or variables your data have, the better the model will do its work. So make sure that you have enough data for you to process. In this project, we processed video data. So as you can imagine, within video, there are a lot of different components. There is the duration of the video, how many people watched the video, how many people completed the video, to give an example. So those are the types of data that we have included as an input for the project. And the third one is to set up the model and analyze. So a lot of the times, whenever we encounter advanced solutions such as artificial intelligence, there is always this mindset that, okay, the model will do everything for me. But in reality, the model will only analyze based on the data that we feed into it, but it won't necessarily have the context of what is behind the data, what campaign delivered certain performance, for example. So this is where as marketers or as humans, this is where we come into play. So the data or the model will only help us understand historical performance and help us analyze huge chunks of data. But then it's up to us to analyze and contextualize the data that the model has been churning for us. And then lastly is to test the model prediction. At the end of the day, the model will predict based on what has already happened in the past. And we know that every day user behavior is changing. There's a lot of things that's happening that could trigger people's behavior on watching videos, for example, or content is also changing. So what resonate from content A may not necessarily reflect the same performance in another content. So it's important for us to understand the level of accuracy of these predictions. So we always advocate for testing. So we know what can be improved in the model, what is the extent or the percentage accuracy of the model, and then how it impacts our campaign. So after we did all this, then the question is, what does this really mean for us, or what were we able to accomplish since we incorporated artificial intelligence in our campaign planning for Nescafe? First is we're able to deliver better video completions at a cost efficient rate. So we all know, and perhaps you guys have seen in the previous sessions here in Nest Level, that online penetration, especially in our region, is continuously increasing. More and more people adapt and use mobile phones in their everyday lives. So for us, digital channel continues to be a critical and strategic part of our communications and how we reach our consumer. So for us to be able to ensure that all the communications that we put out there will be watched by our consumers, and also making sure that we're achieving that at a cost efficient rate to make sure that we'll be able to sustain our online activations. Second would be the prediction of future performance based on specific marketing goals. I think what sets this time apart versus digital 10 years ago, we don't have this technology in our hands. But now that we're able to use artificial intelligence beyond other use cases, say Google Maps that we showed earlier, and really influence our marketing campaigns, that is really a game changer. Because if we can understand how future performance will be, based on creative, based on audiences, that will help us optimize and plan for our campaigns much, much better. And then lastly, it also helps us enable data-driven marketing decision and media optimization. So I think we're now at the time that data is important, and we all need to understand how we can translate this data into real-time use cases. So now that we have the artificial intelligence model helping us with understanding audience segmentation, it also helps our marketing teams to make data-driven decisions, and this also helps our media agencies in order for them to actively optimize and plan our campaigns more efficiently and more effectively. So before we give more tips to you guys, and before we go to the Q&A, we want to share this quote from Pearl Zhu. So she's the author of the Digital Master Book series. So she said that we are moving slowly into an era where big data is the starting point and not the end. So we couldn't emphasize this enough, especially for David and I, who's been really working on developing this model, because whenever we encounter big data, we always have the notion that it is the answer to everything. So once we have this model can quote unquote magically do everything for us. But how we see it is, we as humans and as marketers, most importantly, we have a even more important role, because as we have all this technology being introduced and helping improve our day-to-day lives, in order to build excellent marketing campaigns, we need to now understand how we can incorporate all these learnings and even have an inquisitive mind to really understand how this technology or this type of technology can impact our operations. And this is just the starting point. So the examples that we showed you earlier is really still at the beginning of the journey. So imagine how much more things we can do in the future as this technology evolves. And with that, I will invite David again in the session as we wrap up and share to you guys what we learned when we were developing this project, and also what you need to know when you embark on your own artificial intelligence journey. So first, define a use case that will design to address your marketing challenge. Again, this is very important because at the end of the day, technology only enables marketing campaigns. It's not the end goal. So you need to make sure that this technology can help you answer your pain point, whether it's your business challenge or a marketing challenge. Second would be to always introduce new data sets to continuously improve your analysis and prediction. So again, at the end of the day, the AI will only analyze and will only learn from what you feed it. So for example, if you give it ABC, it won't be able to analyze and learn from DEF. So in order to make sure that the model is sound and is robust, you need to continuously add new data sets, new sets of information, perhaps new types of campaign, so then it continuously learns, so it won't be stagnant. It will only always drive value for your campaigns.
The third one here, that is so basically with AI and machine learning, the more data that you have to feed into the model, the better the model becomes. So you need sufficient data to train your models, being historical data and also being volume. So that's quite important to take into consideration. And then the fourth one here. So so working with AI, you need to adopt an experimental mindset. So what that means that when it comes to optimizing brand impact, and you need to continue to improve your models and test the performance while you engage with your customers. So that can be through A/B testing different scenarios, and as Alex also said, continue to feed your model data. Yeah.
Great. So I think this leads us to the Q&A section.
Thank you, Alex. There are a lot of questions waiting for you here. I'm sure
Good.
it's such
Good.
a very, very interesting sections. Where do I start? Okay, the first questions go to you, David, in particular. What are some of the greatest challenges you have faced when you're working with AI and ML?
So some of the greatest challenges is that it's a very technical and complicated area of work, right? So, you know, it's quite often quite complex to really drive a good business case with machine learning, and so you need to be creative in terms of how you use the things and think of AI as a tool in your toolbox, actually, more than some concept that just comes in from the side and sort of fixes everything. So see it as a hammer, but then you need to identify the nail, basically. So that's definitely a big one, I would say.
Thank you. And the next questions: what are the examples of ethical concerns of AI in digital marketing? Wow, very, very
Good
interesting question. Yes.
Very interesting question. Wow,
yes,
I like
yes.
it. So that's a very good question. So I'm thinking. So as I see it, so basically, a model works with what you have in your data, right? So if your data is consented and there's no personal data in there that is, and it's green lighted by different, GDPR and CCPA and so on and so forth, then there's no worries in terms of ethical, ethical concerns in terms of data. So the model doesn't come up with anything else or what is already in there. So, as long as you, from a privacy perspective, take care of how you handle your data, then there's no worry, actually, in terms of using AI on top of that.
Alex.
Yeah, and I think perhaps I can add on this as well, because in Thailand, we just recently enforced the Thai PDPA. So this definitely is a hot topic. So like what David said, we make sure that whenever we use data, it's consented. That's non-negotiable for us. Privacy always comes first when in everything that we do. Second is also whenever we process data, say for example, using the media data, these are all unknown data. So we are not able to identify these users. And then whenever we use this data, we also use it within our media campaigns. So we never use this to kind of contact, for example, the people directly. So we make sure that there's a proper governance in place in whenever we introduce such models in our campaigns.
Thank you. Very good answers. I'm sure that and in very, very insightful answers to a lot of audience. And the next question, how do you ensure that AI's results are accurate enough for decision making?
Also a good question. So when you develop models, you have a set of results. You can call it KPIs. So for example, you have accuracy, recall, precision, so on and so forth, that actually tests on different in different areas how well your model is performing. So when you develop a model and you do this in an iterative fashion, you test it while you do it, and you improve these parameters, these results here. So you actually, so when you reach a threshold that you think is sufficient, let's say a 95 or percent, something like that, and then you say, okay, so this model is actually accurate enough for us to make a decision. So you don't just create a model and say, here it runs, that's fine, let's just go with that. You actually, so you keep check on it while it's going, right? That's very important.
And this is where the testing comes into play. So if you remember in the approach, there's a 4 steps, and the fourth is to always test. Because at the end of the day, like what David said, at the beginning of developing the model, we will have parameters that will help us indicate how accurate the model is. But then at the end of the day, we have to test it because, for example, let's say the pre-launch of the campaign, let's say the model is quote unquote 70% accurate, but that's based on the data that we ingested in the past. So, and we don't know whether we will still see the same accuracy in the next campaign. So I think you need to definitely have those parameters whenever you start a campaign. And then at the end of the day, I think you always test because there will be different components on what makes the campaign successful. One is obviously the audience segmentation, but you also have creative. There's also different elements within the video, the campaign that you have. So make sure that you put all these factors into consideration, but most importantly, define those accuracy metrics before you even develop the model. So once the model is there, then you have a set of metrics already defined for you to be able to analyze how accurate it is.
Thank you, Alex. David. The next questions. What has been some of the most successful application of AI and ML in your digital marketing endeavor so far? And what challenges did you also face?
Do you want me to take that one, Alex, or?
Sure, David.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we touched upon it during the session, right? So basically, when you create content, you think you have an idea of what your users want to see, but that's all fine, right? But when your users or customers are then exposed to that content, what happens, right? What is the different rates? How is it performing towards your customers? That's quite important. And going in and seeing the performance itself in a could be Google Ads or in a tool like that, then that's also good, right? But then you're looking at the performance of it and not really what is in the content that you have. So when you really the strength here is combining signals and then a volume of data that you won't be able to look through with human eyes, right? So running through that quickly with a machine, that of course that's something we want to do. We don't want to do this ourselves. And then combining these signals to create an analysis that you then can derive some results for and take a decision. That's in broad terms, but then that's quite important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there are also other use cases. So remember that the concept of AI is to predict future performance. So there's also ways to, for example, um, predict whether people will purchase a certain product. So there's definitely different use cases. It really, again, it will depend on what marketing challenge you're trying to achieve. I think there are limitless or a number of ways on how AI can help marketing, whether it's audience, creative, lifetime value. So this is one example of how we can do it.
Definitely.
Okay. How do you see AI helping Nestle in the long term?
So I think as perhaps most of you know, within Nestle we have different brands. We have the infant formula category, we have adult nutrition, we also have dairy, confectionery, we even have our pet care business. So as you can imagine, we have a diverse portfolio within the company. And for us, we feel that we're still at the tip of the iceberg. So we showed you earlier that we're looking at audiences. But there are other things that we can also have AI use cases. It could also be creative, and it can definitely go beyond marketing, because right now we're only covering certain use cases within marketing. So you can imagine there's also a lot of use cases in supply chain, in logistics, internal operations. So definitely for us, we feel that we're at the beginning of this journey, and then we are looking at different ways, not just audience prediction and optimization, but also looking at purchase behavior, for example, for some of our categories that we're selling directly to consumers. So we feel that we definitely will leverage AI more and more in our campaigns.
Would you like to add anything, David, on that?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think you touched upon quite a lot. So we are working here from my side with Nestlé on different initiatives within different aspects of marketing, as you also said earlier. So definitely there are areas to improve, and definitely also from a planning perspective, like how, it's fine looking a little bit ahead in terms of, driving a future campaign and so forth, but, let's also try to look 3 months ahead or 6 months if we dare, right? So that's also something definitely we're looking into, yeah.
What are the common misconceptions?
Oh, can you say again?
What are the most conceptions about AI?
Sure. A good one. So, for example, we went through them with the different examples in the quiz, right? So even though that it is, there are a lot of misconceptions actually, as you sort of saw from the results there. But so I think one general one is that AI can deal with very broad problems, right? So you make an AI and that's, it just handles decision making for you in different areas. So that's not really the case. AI, they can only deal with a very specific problem and a very narrow one as well. So for example, it's, really, do exactly one task. That's the level we are on right now. So, in the coming years, what will be is we will look at these more like general AIs that can do multiple tasks. But right now, that's the level we're in the industry. And again, that's, as we said earlier. So models can also, it's not magic, right? So it only works on the data that you provided. So there's nothing, there's no voodoo under the hood, if you might say. Yeah.
Okay. How did you pick AI as the solution to help with your marketing objective?
Perhaps
Yeah.
I can take this one,
Do that. Yeah.
David. So I think for us, it really is due to the volume of the data that we have. So if you remember in the video, we in the past 3 years we've accumulated over 3 billion impressions, and that's looking at one metric, only impressions. But we have 160 plus audiences, 200 plus campaigns, 200 plus videos. So you can imagine no single person or a group of people cannot realistically process this amount of data. That's one. Second is we always invest and have a lot of activations in digital. So for us, those are the two kind of starting points. Like, okay, what can we do with all this data that we have? And then if we want to reach more people, how can we reach them more precisely? And how can we understand like what types of content resonate to them? Because at the end of the day, after we reach them, we want to communicate to them. So make sure that the communication is relevant to them at that point that we reach the consumer. So those are the considerations on why we picked AI. And of course, for us to be able to understand future campaigns, because at the end of the day, we will always have marketing campaigns. So this will then help us make sure that we can sustain our campaigns more efficiently and then continuously optimize to performance.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Anything to add on, David, on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, you know, a couple of highlighted keywords is this is future and also predicting, right? Because basically what we do is that we look on historical data, so basically what happened in the past, in order to give you a way to make a decision on what happens in the futures, right? So for example, paid media is highly competitive, right? You are bidding against a lot of other companies for eyeballs on your content. So being able to drill down and say, you know, for this type of content, this is the exact audience that we want to target, instead of targeting, you know, in very broad audiences. Then you basically you get you get much better performance doing that. So that's quite important. Yeah.
Okay. The next questions. What are the consequences if AI fails?
Then you train it again. So I mean, it does that a lot. So that's a natural thing. So whenever a model fails, you go in and then you assess what failed, and then you retrain it again. So the common things are that you need to adjust the data that you're inputting. You need to adjust the parameters for the model, so on and so forth. So a lot of technicalities, but then again, you know, failure, that's always the first step, and then success comes afterwards. I would say that definitely.
Okay, there are a lot of questions, and this will be your last. Just conscious of time. Okay, and what are the latest technologies or knowledge that someone starting their careers in data analytics should know?
Ooh, good question as well. So for example, so if we keep it within marketing, right? So some new technologies within marketing science, some people call it, is for example NLP models. So that's natural language processing. So basically that is looking at the text content and then deriving insights out of that. So that can be, you know, what is the sentiment of this content, you know, the tone of voice, but also what are the entities in this this text. Basically, that means, you know, different keywords that we drive out of a piece of text content. And then we can, for example, in search campaigns and so on and so forth, we can use that. Another thing could be, so an evolving field is, excuse me, is computer vision. Again, computer vision is also what we used for the case study that we have here today. But it is, you know, increasingly becoming good. So you can do more and more and more with your content. So images and videos, basically. I think actually you can there's a couple of sites online where you can go in and you can actually try these things out. Then you'll see there's a landscape and an image and so on and so forth. That's quite interesting. Yeah.
Anything from you, Alex?
So I think David have covered in the technical aspect, but I think also understanding one would be the business. So I think because at the end of the day, all these models you have to input it in your real life or business use case, right? So I think having good business grasp is also critical, because usually that's where the challenge comes in. We always have like all this technical solution, but then when it comes to how do we translate this to the business, that's the area that still needs some work. So I think make sure that you have the technical foundation sound, and then at the same time also have your business management skills as well, so you can match and complement both.
Thank you very much, Alex and David, for such an insightful sections. Just we all can agree here from the flood of the questions that keep coming in non-stop. Okay, and thank you very much for everyone that attending the sections. We hope you enjoy hearing from our industry experts and feel inspired by their sharing. Digital acceleration shape big growth in sales e-commerce, and there are always endless opportunity to look forward to enrich partnership and new technology. So make sure you follow us and scan the codes to find out what opportunities in our Nestlé market. Don't forget to catch the next section by Utku and Hasdemia and Emil Bobo as they talk about driving e-commerce growth and accelerating e-business and digital transformation journey in MENA, Digital by Design. To discover how Nestlé MENA is accelerating e-business and e-commerce across the value chain to guide consumer down the funnel. This one you don't want to miss. So make sure you go and click the links at the chat. It will take you directly to the next sections, or you may go back to the agenda page and join the sections from there as well. Don't panic if you miss out any of our next level sections, because the recording will be up for your personal recapping. Feel free to share your thought about today's next level sections and tag us in LinkedIn with hashtag NextLevel2023. Have a great day, everyone, and see you at the next sections. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.